So let's get reaction now from former State Department official Christian Whiton. It's clear that Russian President Vladimir Putin is using the cold temperatures to take out the energy infrastructure. Is he trying to change the will of the people or soften the country for a spring offensive? What do you think?
I think right now it's probably the first one. I mean, those aren't mutually exclusive. He could be doing both, but raising the cost in terms of just the misery that Ukrainian people have to live through, and perhaps to subtract some of the support that Zelensky and his government have had from Ukrainians. That's probably what this is. It's also an indication that Putin and the Russians view this as more of a type of a war of attrition or a frozen conflict, something that could be going on. You point out it's been going on for nearly a year. I think it could go on through next winter when, frankly, Europe will be in an even worse position as far as the energy markets go.
Well, then that leads to the next question. What do you make of this discussion of possible talks where they seem to be as far apart as the Grand Canyon?
Right. You know, I'm going to say something that absolutely no one wants to hear, at least no one in Kyiv or Washington, which is I think the United States at some point is going to have to negotiate directly with Russia. It's something we had to do in the Vietnam War to not exclude the South Vietnamese from the Paris peace talks, but to basically start to arrange a deal directly with the North Vietnamese. Obviously, the outcome was not great there. But to end this war, it does look like the two sides are too far apart. The idea of taking Crimea, which, yes, was part of Ukraine from 1991 until 2014, but was part of Russia from about 1783 until 1991, right, and was just shifted out basically by Khrushchev in a bit of legerdemain. These things are just unrealistic, and it's, you know, we can say all day long that the Russians aren't willing to negotiate, but it seems like the Ukrainians aren't there either.
Right. And so let's switch gears now and talk about China. The U.S. is criticizing China's military drills near Taiwan, with the president calling the actions, quote, provocative. Should we be concerned about stability now in this region?
We should. You know, you have to wonder. So provocative. The Chinese are going to be sitting there like, okay, what's this going to provoke? We haven't provoked anything. And in fact, Secretary of State Blinken has been planning a trip over there. His State Department and NSC has been saying, well, we want to put a floor under our relations with China, which if you're Chinese say, oh, okay, we can do pretty much everything. And the Americans are always going to want to talk. They want to kind of come and talk at climate change. We're going to run a huge deficit with them. We get a bunch of dollars. They get a bunch of stuff we manufacture. And nothing ever changes. So it's one thing for the administration to complain, but all of their actions, starting with the lack of a China policy, imply that, frankly, Beijing can get away with this type of thing. So, yes, destabilizing.
Yeah, so China has always connected issues together as one policy course. You know, the Communist Party has seen weakness from President Biden over its help, over China's help of Russia, propping up the Russian economy. You know, is this China showing that they're maybe willing to get closer to move on Taiwan as a whole of government approach for them?
Yeah, that's a real risk, and you're right. They're very good at what we used to be good at, that whole of government, that sort of understanding the full spectrum of statecraft from kinetic war to political war and cultural war. They wage it against us, not only Taiwan. Yes, they are making greater ties with Russia, which gives them a lot of comfort, a lot of things they don't have to worry about. A lot of energy supplies, which used to have to come from the Middle East, are going to be coming overland from Siberia in the form of new gas pipelines to supplement the ones that are always there. You know, no one could read Xi Jinping's mind. I think he realizes it could still be too risky. Doing a airborne and seaborne invasion of Taiwan that would be more complicated than D-Day is probably beyond his means. But on the other hand, we are tempting him. We are so distracted elsewhere. We are, every year in every administration, we have fewer and fewer forces in the Pacific. We keep saying China is the threat. And if you look at our Air Force and Navy in particular, what we have out there is not as significant as it used to be. I'll say that.
Interesting. Christian, thank you. Appreciate it. This is something we'll be following.
Thank you so much.